This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Hello and welcome to Voices Unhindered. I'm Crystal Jenkinson. On this show, I give a unique perspective and listening ear to voices that often go unheard. I want everyone to know that you are not alone and that your voice and story matters. On today's episode of Voices Unhindered, I speak with filmmaker Raymond Lum about his upbringing, coming to Christ, and journey towards overcoming sexual abuse as a child. Do you mind if you could please tell me about your home environment growing up?
I'm the oldest of two sisters and a brother. Mum and dad, parents. Family life was interesting. Also had a live-in nanny. She came in when I was 2 years old.
Did she do your cares and things like that?
Yeah, she looked after us growing up. 2001, she passed on. It was reasonably happy growing up in our household. Nothing major happened. Well, except for the abuse.
Yeah, do you mind me asking about how the abuse started? Like, was there anything that led up to it, or did it just start happening as far back as you can remember?
It just started happening roughly between the ages of 5 and 9. It wasn't until later in my life that my sister said, something's wrong. Not it was just me, but just something's wrong, you just need to see some help. So I sought help, counsellor, and still seeing a counsellor now.
Yeah, so obviously you're still working through the process of dealing with that trauma. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And when did you start bringing it into the light? Like, did you carry that with you for so many years?
I suppose the process was part with my sister, and then...
How many years ago?
That was probably in my 20s, roughly. I'm 49 now. Maybe my late 20s, at a guess. And then I made contact... There was this lawyer outfit. I was in Auckland where they put an ad in the paper. If you're being abused or sexually abused, you can apply for this ACC money. I don't know what this is about, but I'll apply. So I did that, did the process, had to see counsellor, family doctor. They put the application in, so to speak. You get so much money from the government, depending on how damaged you are. So that's hard.
It's hard to judge, eh?
Yeah, quantify that when you
any abuse is abuse, yeah.
Yeah, when you're trying to compare workplace. I mean, it's easy to qualify if you lose a finger in a workplace, but when...
What do you believe was the cause for you and your siblings experiencing abuse? Do you believe that something wasn't in place so that happened, enabled it, or what do you believe?
I think the safeguards weren't in place.
What do you mean by safeguards?
Checks and balances of the person.
How did you meet the nanny? How did your parents find them?
I honestly don't know. I think it was family friends or something. It was suggested. This is going back into the 70s. So if I was 2, I'll be in 77.
And what about other family support? Did you not have any grandparents around, to keep an eye on you guys or
no,
aunties?
They didn't come until later in my life. My grandparents.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my dad's side, she came when I was at high school, but then she went back, passed away in Hong Kong.
And just going back to your nanny, when you were a kid, did you have any weird feelings about her when she came in? Parents saw you squirm or I don't really feel comfortable around this woman, or?
I wouldn't say so. Even though there weren't any checks and balances on her, she's just there. In a way, you kind of respect her, but you didn't know that. In a nutshell, no. Funny feelings or anything. It was just later when I grew up in my adult life that I realised this is not good, this is not right.
Yeah, so at the time, you or your siblings didn't show any signs towards your parents or others looking in that there was something wrong?
No.
Yeah. And with your Christian beliefs, where do you believe sexual abuse and molestation originates from?
It's just sin, really.
Yeah.
Sin of the world.
True, yeah.
It's just, people have a choice of doing right or wrong.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines that she thought she was doing right by us. I mean, don't get me wrong here, she taught us stuff growing up, but the abuse, that was definitely wrong. I don't know if it happened in her life or
Yeah.
her upbringing. I can't answer that. Basic answer, sin,
Yeah.
the fall, taken back to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, but then again, not everyone is molested as a child, so sometimes some things can carry on through the bloodline. Did your
Yes.
parents experience abuse? Did you ever ask them?
No, not that I know of. Maybe my dad's dad had just abuse in general, not too sure. My dad was actually really quiet when growing up, but when he said something, you took notice. You took note, and some of the stuff was quite profound.
Yeah, and what's some of the spiritual side of things that you've worked through with dealing with abuse with your Christian faith? How have you seen abuse from a different lens than someone who wasn't?
Spiritually, I think it's comforting to know that God loves me, and that's just powerful in itself.
Yeah.
It's the love of God is inspirational, but there's probably even a better word than that. And waking up every morning just realising, yes, God does love me, even though I'm a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
I suppose that's just in general. Sometimes you just wake up feeling like pretty bad. Wrong word than that, but yeah, sometimes you just don't feel it, and you got to push past that.
Yeah. Did you ever have a hard time trusting women growing up due to what happened?
I would say yes. Yes and no. It just depends on the situation. I'm generally introverted by nature, and it takes me a while in general just to get to know people. I may be a bit reserved and stand back and just start chatting. It may take, depends on the situation or work environment or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe a day or two. But then if I trust the person enough, I'll open up enough. I suppose woman in leadership is probably hard because...
authority figures?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah. And submitting to, say, if you had a woman boss or something, would that be kind of challenging just due to the trauma you faced as a child, right?
Yes.
It was kind of a similar power structure. Eh? Did you ever experience fear of this nanny?
Back then, you're allowed to strap kids. They didn't bring that law until later on. But she didn't really strap us, but she did threaten us with a stick. Not a stick, but wooden handle, maybe. That's the level of abuse is something that you just feared.
I mean, more the sexual abuse. Did you fear her, abusing you? When she next going to abuse me? Did you ever think that as a, anxiety about the whole thing?
No, I just didn't know it was wrong, to be honest. I honestly didn't know this was not meant to be happening in my young childlike life.
Yeah.
Now, over-analysing it from an adult point of view, it's different.
Reflecting,
different way of thinking. Your adult brain's trying to process it. Your child's...
You don't know.
What happened as a child.
Did you feel feelings of shame or anything as a child? It's my fault, or you didn't really think about it at all, in that way?
No, not really. I think the shame came later on.
Yeah. When you started processing the emotions and realizing what this was. Yeah. Did you have a close relationship with your parents growing up, or were they always busy working mostly?
Semi-close relationship. Sometimes we'd go out to Wairau hot pools for the day and the weekend, day at the beach, and then sometimes we'd go on holidays for a week. There were some good times. I remember we went to a food show. I think I was about maybe 9 or 8 or something. It hadn't opened. This is in Green Lane up in Auckland. We're just playing tag in the rugby park next door while we waited for this place to open. Those are the funner times. Mum, I remember years ago if Mum woke up or couldn't sleep or something, and she couldn't sleep, and then she kind of was blaming herself for the whole... I said, Mum, no, it's not your fault. I don't blame you. It's the nanny's fault. There was a bit of crying on that part. Yeah.
And you guys obviously bonded during that time more, because you felt you could.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the good thing about it, that you guys got closer. And do you believe that God works everything out for good, like even the hard things in life?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And how has he helped you through your abuse and worked it out for good, could you say?
It's a healing process. Every day is a healing process. Getting with like-minded Christians.
How has God helped you? And like, are there any Bible verses that you would say like has helped you, or has spoken to you specifically about the trauma, like given you words?
Specific Bible verses, but I remember I was reminded about that Bible verse about how wide God's love is. I think it's in Romans. How deep. It's just amazing. It's just, to quantify the word love is it's needs to be expanded more, because I could love my dog, but
it means different things to different people, doesn't it? But then the Bible says God is love, because he showed us what he did when Jesus died for us. So pretty clear.
And there's the Greek eros, with the four main
different types
love
of love.
verses.
Yeah.
What God's love is agape love, and blows my mind.
And what are some misconceptions in our culture today about sexual abuse? And
misconceptions from a guy's point of view, guys tend not to talk about it much, except I am now. And I've done written interview with Bristlecone and the video with Gloria. Guys tend to compartmentalise it and just leave it like separate, where there are a few guys groups that do meet due to the fact the Royal Commission that's just been released, and well, I honestly don't know where that's going to go with that whole thing. I suppose the misconception is that this never happens to a guy. Yes, it does happen to a guy. I did belong to another group, and I thought I was the only guy that got molested, sexually abused by a woman, but then it was close. There was two other people in our group. So we've got to break the stigmatization of that, and just open that up and have general discussions about that.
Yeah, true. It's just like an assumption, that like a woman couldn't do that. Like it's just one of those beliefs that are not true.
That's correct. Normally you hear a lot about.
Same with violence. Like you think like it's always the man that's violent towards the woman, but it definitely swings the other way as well.
Yes, particularly in island cultures.
Because with my parents, my mum was the aggressor and quite violent. And how does your faith in Jesus play a role in your healing journey?
I've been a Christian since I was 17, and I'm glad I did become a Christian, because 19 was when my dad passed away, and that the healing with that, the sexual abuse, has been a big part of my Christian walk.
Before he died, did you kind of like bond with him about it? You know, like how you did with your mum? Did that happen with your dad before he passed?
Oh, no, not really. I did try to have a chat with my dad about it, but my dad was like, just take care of your brother. I'm thinking, what about me?
Yeah, all the yous were at risk.
So that was quite hard, trying to talk to him about what happened.
But especially being the older, like you feel partly responsible for your siblings, and then if you're not being looked after, it's even harder. So sorry to interrupt. You did try to talk to him, but he kind of just dismissed it.
Kind of brushed me aside and more concerned about my younger brother.
Yeah, that doesn't really deal with the root. How effective has counselling or therapy been for you?
Helped quite a lot. Got some tools, I suppose, that I use now and then. Good to talk about stuff, because presently I'm married. Stuff I find it hard to talk about. I generally do talk about it with my counsellor. Try to talk it with my wife.
Yeah. Has it been easier, like, to talk to your wife about it? Like, has she been quite supportive as well? Like,
very
that's cool.
Supportive. when the Bristol Cone project came in Canterbury 5-6 years ago, they had a ginormous poster of me on the wall, and then our stories were all along there. My wife she wasn't my wife then, but and their 2 kids came along.
Cool.
And we openly talked about if things like that happened with the kids, to talk about it.
Yeah. And how does that, like, cause you to be more, like, conscious about children in your care, like, because of what you've been through?
A deep respect for kids.
Yeah.
I suppose so, because I wouldn't... Well, if it was my own kid, I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
Yeah,
to them, because I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And I just look at a little child, boy or girl, going, oh, you're cute, but... Yeah, I wouldn't take it that far. They are so innocent.
If you're just tuning in on Voices Unhindered today, I am speaking with filmmaker Raymond Lum about his upbringing, coming to Christ, and overcoming sexual abuse as a child. Yeah. Do you ever think, like, it's a spirit, like, working behind someone doing that, like a demonic spirit?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever considered? Yeah. So you do believe, like, there's obviously, like, demons that work through people and motivate them to do what they would.
It's a temptation. I'm reminded of that Bible verse about prowls like a roaring lion to tempt Christians or non-Christians.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that some are more tempted to do than others. If they've had it in their bloodline, there's more of a tendency, I believe, to do, because you've kind of, it's in you.
I suppose if the upbringing is, that's all you know.
That's true.
More likely to do it as well, because they just think it's normal. It's not normal. No.
That's true.
It's breaking their cycle.
That's true. And was that atmosphere at home, was it just like, did you find it just normal with the nanny around? Like, when did she move in, like, to live with you guys? What age were you?
I was 2. Yeah, it's hard to quantify.
Did you feel free, like, to be yourself as a kid around her, like you and your siblings?
Oh, I think so. I honestly can't remember. It's a while. Free to a certain extent.
And 2, until what age did she kind of leave, or?
Maybe it was when I was in my 20s.
That's pretty long, eh?
Yeah. It's just
she could have left at, like, 16. Like, I mean, some kids are, like, old enough at that age to, like, kind of, you know. I'm not saying that you weren't. I'm just saying, like, it just seems a bit, like, extreme, like, to be living with you until that age. Like, because you can do all the stuff yourself, right? Yes, like, cooking until you're, like, cleaning. And do you think it was a bit extreme now you look back, or do you just think...
Yeah, I think she kind of overstayed her welcome a bit. Even sister was a little upset that she stayed a bit longer.
Yeah. And do you think you've repressed, like, any memories due to trauma that you've only remembered during adulthood?
Yes, but I'm reminded what Gloria said to me after the interview, that she said it's the only point of bringing it up, because you're just re-traumatising yourself. I mean, it's all right to bring it out first time, let it out, release it, and Jesus healing it. That's great.
Bring it
Don't
to
get me wrong.
I mean, not repeating your memory about it. I mean, is there anything that you feel God's revealed to you about the past that he's brought to light, and you're like, oh, I didn't actually think of that or remember that or look at it like that?
I'm going to take it, well, not tackle it this way, but to say it this way. I'm just reminded that Jesus was in the room when it happened. And he is just as upset as me, and I just feel his presence, remembering the stuff, that he was there, and he's just upset that this event happened. Yeah, that's cool that you can see it like that, and not like, because some people kind of get angry at God, and think, why didn't you protect me, or why wasn't there anyone protecting me? Because going back, if I hadn't become a Christian, we might not even been having this conversation now, because I could have committed suicide. I could be a druggie. I could have been homeless guy living on the street. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I'm quite glad that God did save me at that time too.
And now you're bringing it to the light, and like others can talk about their own, because you've like broken through the barriers.
Anyone listening to this podcast and you feel, why am I angry? Why am I upset? Maybe your wife partner has brought stuff up. Please seek help.
Could you explain what type of unusual behaviors did you recognize in your life that you only realized? Like anger, did you repress like anger and
definitely
grief, and things
anger.
came out later?
That's come out later. Even my wife's picked up on that.
Yeah.
I only asked you a question and you're kind of snapping at me and going, oh, sorry.
And now you know like the root, eh? Did it change your behavior growing up? Like were you, like when you've been molested, there's a tendency to like just copy the behavior of what you're taught. Did you like battle with any like lust, things like that growing up, like drugs or?
There wasn't the drugs or anything like that, but there is something that I'm dealing with now. But
yeah, that's cool if you don't want to.
I suppose there was a little bit of lust, but I'm dealing with doing a program now about that side of stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. And how has bringing the abuse into the light helped you to relate to others and others telling you their story and being able to empathize with them?
We, as a general population or group, or dare I say a subset, need to keep talking about this to help people on the journey of healing. Probably about a month ago, someone reached out to me. I hadn't talked to her in years. We both went to Bible college, and I didn't know she was abused as well. Talk about it and get it out there.
And how have you worked through forgiveness towards those who you may have failed to protect you or abused you as a child? How has forgiveness come into that? Or is that something you're still working through?
I'm still working on it day by day, but forgiveness is a big thing, because if you do not forgive someone else, how can Jesus or God forgive me for my stuff? It's a flow-on effect. I forgive other people, and then this love of God. It's also a empathy thing as well. If you hear other people's story and go, oh, I feel your hurt, your sadness, and I can empathise because I've experienced it as well.
Yeah.
Some people, it's all theory. They hear the theory and they haven't experienced it.
Yeah,
and
it's so different.
I know, I've been there.
Yeah. And like you said with the nanny, like you kind of question, like wonder if she had been abused herself. Like, and that, not that it makes it any like easier to forgive, but like at least it gives you like a bit of insight into why she would do that. And is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I'll just go back to my point of, if you're listening to this podcast or watching it, either or, and you just feel something, your gut, so to speak, that I need to talk to someone about it, please reach out. If need be, please reach out to me. I've got contacts within the men's community here in Christchurch that I know people. I suppose the important part for me in my journey is becoming a Christian, experiencing the love and healing of God, and associated with that is Jesus' love through my friends and my family.
And that's really what kind of you think started you on your healing journey, eh? Like accepting Christ. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, and we're all here for a purpose. Just to help each other.
Yeah, and do you mind asking about your testimony a little bit? Like, how did you become a Christian? Like, what were the events that led you up to?
I was at college and there was a book.
Bible college?
Normal college. Our college was a Christian-based school, run by the government, but it had a Christian principal.
Was it just a public school, but it had a...
Maclean's College up in Auckland, and so it wasn't forced, but he endorsed this book called Crossin' Swiss Braid by Nicky Cruz, and that was part of. I mean, I wasn't in a gang or anything. It wasn't. Oh, and there was a magazine that helped me along the way. My friend invited me to church, and I go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll come along. And it was some youth group event, and then I keep coming along. Maybe 2 weeks in, I went to the altar call. And I was asking all these questions, and my friend said, oh, you need to read this at the Bible. So I went home and read it. Nothing major. Probably maybe 6 months later, I got water baptised.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What kind of church was it? Do you mind me asking?
It's fine. It was a cooperating parish.
Oh, yeah.
I think the pastor was Presbyterian. But, yeah, I won't bore you with the Christian politics of that. But basically, there was a bit of a split, and then another church formed out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was back in 97. But, yeah. So, yeah, and that church still is around.
Yeah.
Up in Auckland.
And how did your parents take to you like reading the Bible and things like that?
There was one time I came back from home after school, college, and my dad said, "Oh, your youth pastor or whatever wants to talk to you." I'm going, "Okay." So I went to see him, and he's basically said to me, "Oh, your dad's just thinking you're spending too much time at church. And I'm on your side." And I go, that's all he said. Both my parents went to that meeting, and I'm thinking, why didn't my dad just come and talk to me about it? And in a way, I felt quite hurt. And actually, funny enough, my love language is quality time. I want to get to know people and where they're at. I won't judge anyone where they're at. I just want to hear their story, and it's partly my film business is about that, telling your story through film and other platforms. A little plug. But just going back to my dad not wanting to sit down and say, "Oh, why are you spending so much time at church?" And I just felt safe there, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, home was home. I did feel safe at home, but...
Except for the abuse, obviously.
Except for the abuse. So, my dad, I think I'd probably say he's an atheist. Didn't really understand where I was at. We didn't really talk about it.
Yeah. Did you not, get a chance to tell them about the Lord before they... I mean, is your mum still around, or...?
Yeah, my mum's around. She's actually a Buddhist. She did, for a while, go to a Christian church. Did I bring up... I think I might have brought up once with my dad about Christ, but...
Did he kind of, not want to hear, kind of?
No, I don't think he did. Yeah.
What about the change they've seen in you? Sometimes it's not the words we speak, but it's how our life has changed. Did they not see, a change in your life after... accepting Christ?
Oh, I hope so. To be honest, I can't remember. It wasn't really talked about.
Yeah,
I was a little. My other thing was my disappointment is I told my dad I was getting baptised, and then I came home that day after being baptised, and he actually said, "Oh, I don't think you should be baptised." And I said, "But I've already been baptised, and it happened tonight." And I'm going, "Oh," and then, yeah. So that was...
What did he do then? Did he just...
He didn't really say much after that.
Oh. Do you think that, caused a bit of a wedge between you and your dad? Just your faith, maybe?
Oh, maybe a little bit. You're probably right on that.
And what about your other siblings? Did they, how did they go on their healing journey? Did they, become Christians, or did they, just...
No,
go a different path?
They didn't become Christians, I should say, yet, but I don't know. It's a hard one, that one. I'm just reminded when Jesus went back home and he started preaching, and then the crowd turned on him and it was about to throw him off off the ridge. Because growing up in your family, they know you inside out.
Yeah, that's true. They put you in a box,
It's maybe one of the reasons also why I left Auckland, just to experience life. I just need to change. People ask me why I moved down this way, and they go, I just needed some change. Auckland traffic is horrible.
Yeah. You mean like to start your own life, your own path in life, kind of?
Yeah, I went via Cromwell and then up to Christchurch too, not straight to Christchurch. It was for work.
Yeah. And how has your relationship with your mum been as the years have gone on?
Oh, that's great.
That's good.
Really good. Really. I ring her. I try to ring her at least once a week just to check in, see how she is. But yeah,
that's good. And what about just like going back to your childhood? Did you have any other like figures apart from the youth pastor that you kind of trusted and like confided in growing up?
Not really. Just some close friends.
Yeah. No like teachers or like could talk to about anything kind of that you remember?
No.
Do you think like if you did have that growing up that it would have helped you, like having someone you could talk to about the stuff that happened at home, the abuse and stuff?
Yeah, I have tried to...
Who believed you?
Get a mentor, a male mentor, excuse me, in my life. I do have one of those right now.
Yeah, do you think you lacked that growing up? Like,
it would have helped, yes, definitely.
Would you have felt more comfortable talking to a male about stuff that happened to you rather than a female, kind of?
It depends.
Yeah.
It does depend. I've had both male and female counsellors as well.
And have they all aligned with your faith? Like, or have they been... Were there some of them Christians or like were it?
My first one was a non-Christian, but the majority of them have been Christian. Yeah.
So it is important, like who you speak to. Like, don't just assume like every counsellor is understanding or good.
I have changed counsellors because my second to last one wasn't a Christian. It's just having a different worldview, a Christian worldview.
And then even among Christians, there's different beliefs about the Bible. Thank you for listening to Voices Unhindered. It's great hearing from my listeners. Reach out with questions and comments through Insta or Facebook. Just search for Voices Unhindered. I'm interested to know what other topics and voices you'd like me to bring on the show. Join me every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. on Plains FM 96.9. You can find past episodes at plainsfm.org.nz and subscribe to Voices Unhindered on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to never miss an episode.